Does everyone in Wisconsin eat cheese with every meal? Is southern Wisconsin changing the state's culture? And does everyone in Wisconsin hate people from Illinois? We're going to talk about that stuff and a lot more. So grab some brats, some beer, and some cheese whiz. We're going to unbox the state of Wisconsin. Aw, look at this. It's a cow on a dairy farm. Wisconsin is a big dairy state, and dairy is a big part of the state's culture. Throughout most of Wisconsin, you'll find farmland like this. After all, Wisconsin is the second leading producer of dairy products. But Wisconsin's a lot more than dairy farms. You might know Wisconsin as a state of farmland, dive bars, and terrible Milwaukee neighborhoods. Sure, there's a lot of that, and we'll get to that in a minute. But to really get to know Wisconsin, you need to look at this state from afar and visit each of this state's unique regions. Then you'll truly know what Wisconsin's all about, and you'll be able to figure out what part of Wisconsin is best for you. This is Wisconsin. It's a big state, and as you can see, there's all sorts of stuff to explore. It just depends on where you want to go. We're going to start way up here in the northwest part of the state and kind of work our way around for a bit. This far northwest part of the state can be referred to as the Indian Head part of the state. Why? Well, because it's shaped like an Indian head. See? This is his headdress. It's pretty chill up here. Most people in Wisconsin don't hear a lot about this part of the state. There's a lot of forest up here, and this is the only part of the state which touches Lake Superior. The water here is frigid. The town of Superior is here. It's the largest city up in these parts, home to 28,000 people. It's very poor, and there's lots of drugs. Lots of shipbuilders up here. This is one of the most liberal pockets of the state, too. Ashland is another community in this part of the state. It's rural and really pretty. However, the crime rate's the third highest in the state in Ashland. What's going on there? It snows a lot up here. Folks up here use snow blowers on their roofs. But while Wisconsin winters do suck, summer and fall in this state are really awesome. Except for the mosquitoes and the ticks. Those suck. Now over there is the northeast part of the state. There's about 400,000 total people in this part of Wisconsin, which borders Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Just cross over the Menominee River and there you go. A bunch of tree-dwelling rednecks and dispensaries. Good people though. It's mostly forested up here as well. This part of the state in Marinette and Oconto counties hugs the shoreline of Lake Michigan. Oconto is a pretty bad place to live, sadly. It's kind of boring up here. There's wolves and poachers in these parts. It's very conservative. And there's lots of Native American reservations up here in places like Menominee. Wisconsin, as a state, has the 8th most Native American reservations in the country with 11 total. And where there's a Native American reservation, there's a casino. Tucked away back in this vast forested area are a large number of cabins, and you'd be lucky to have one yourself, or have a friend who has one, or maybe a cottage or even a lake house. That's a big deal, to be able to schlep up here any time of the year and get out onto the water or shoot a buck. Over here in the northwest part of the state near the Minnesota border is, you guessed it, more forest and farmland. There's 500,000 people in this core of the state, with Eau Claire being the largest population-wise. Eau Claire's become more liberal over time, and there's quite a few annoying Vikings fans who live here, but it has a small town feel and it's a great place for raising a family. Crime's low. That's pretty much how most of the largest cities are up here in northern Wisconsin. The rest of this area is very conservative too and has what many say the best deer hunting in the world. Oh my God, people. Now, hunting's a big deal in Wisconsin. On opening day, lots of people call in sick, hoping to shoot a 30-point buck up north. Every fall, it sounds like Iraq up here and the skies are filled with gunfire smoke. Wildlife scurry around, being chased by crazed beer-drinking Scotties looking for that elusive wall mount. There's one now. Oh, he's too small to shoot out yet. Let him get nice and big. Mappy, what are you doing? That was a button buck. You don't shoot those. You're gonna get us in trouble, dude. We're hunting on a friend's property. Now we have to hide the damn thing.
Sorry, Nick. I guess I'm a little trigger happy.
Mappy, you need to read up on your DNR handbook. Here's a copy. It's 32 pages. And give me that gun. Now over here in eastern Wisconsin, it's also more of the same. Lots of farms, farmland, and a big conservative crowd. Green Bay's here, perhaps the most notable city in the state outside of parts of southern Wisconsin. There's about 100,000 people in Green Bay. It's still kind of a hick town. There's lots of proud people up here, lots of blue-collar work in manufacturing and paper mills. Anything close to downtown Green Bay is way older and rougher than the outskirts of town. Green Bay's changed over the years, and it's drawn more of a freeloading crowd from down south, likely Illinois, or fibs. More on that later when we get to southern Wisconsin, but everybody hates fibs. Of course, Green Bay's home to the mighty Packers, who are such a big deal, people wait generations for tickets. If you move here, don't even bother trying to get them. The wait's like 1,000 years. Just go tailgate outside of the stadium instead. Here's some perspective on how popular the Packers are in this state. Those are indeed Packer-themed weddings. But it's not just the Packers. They love all their teams, including the University of Wisconsin, the Bucks, and the Brewers. That there long tip there sticking out is mostly made of Door County. It's a really pretty place. Some call it vacation land. Lots of fibs have second homes up here. There's lots of cherry orchards here. It's a really super cool place with towns like Bailey's Harbor, Egg Harbor, and Washington Island. There's lots of shipbuilding jobs here to keep people working. A little bit lower in this part of the state, and you have more rural farmland and lots of places to hunt. Don't be surprised to see people wearing camo to church up here, and you'll see lots of dads picking up their kids from school in blaze orange. Monadawak is a rundown place, lots of meth heads. The largest reservation in the state is here. The Oneida Reservation is very poor, and there's lots of problems in this area. This is the Fox Valley area here near Lake Winnebago. Fond du Lac, Appleton, and Oshkosh all are super great places with a great reputation. Wapaka is over here. It's been taken over by tourists in the summer because of the nearby chain of lakes. They've also had a hard time with drugs in the area, but it's still a good community with lots of well-kept homes and good families. There's lots of beer drinkers up here in northern Wisconsin, just like there are in all of Wisconsin, actually. 12 of the nation's 20 drunkest cities are all in Wisconsin, and folks in this state drink the 5th most beer of any other state. Ask Ascani where their favorite bar is, and you'll get a very long answer. In fact, Wisconsin has one of the highest bar-to-people ratios in the world, and bars outnumber grocery stores 3-1 in Wisconsin. Can you imagine that? So drinking alcohol is deeply embedded in this state's culture. Popular beers of choice here are Miller, PBR, Leinenkugels, and Spotted Cow. They have craft beers too, but old-timers hate that mess. Plymouth is up here in this region. They call themselves the cheese capital of the world, but folks in Monroe, Fitchburg, and Platteville turn out prized cheeses too. Well, this is as good a time as any to talk about Wisconsin's cheese. There's cheese factories and cows all over the state. Look at this, there's a cheese map, which has all the places where they make cheese.
Great cheese comes from happy cows. Happy cows come from
Wisconsin.
California.
Now, we mentioned the cows in Wisconsin. There's over 1 million cows in the Badger State, and 9 out of 10 cows' milk is turned into cheese. Wisconsin sure knows how to make some damn cheese. They make over 600 types of cheeses here. 600 types, people. Delicious cheese, string cheese, cheese whiz, mac and cheese, cheddar, American, mozzarella, brick, Munster, cheese curds, the squeakier the better. You could do a whole video about Wisconsin's cheese. There's a festival where they make things out of cheese. Here's a typical Wisconsin birthday cheese cake. Here's a 3,500 pound mammoth cheese wheel you can buy. What the hell? And of course, there's cheese heads that they wear. But science says cheese is addicting, people, so you can't blame them. Do people in Wisconsin have trouble pooping? And do they make cheese-flavored beer? They should make that. The average American consumes 27 pounds of cheese a year. Wisconsin people eat 270 pounds of cheese every year. No, I don't know how much they eat, but it's a lot. The Wisconsin food groups consist of the aforementioned cheese, and then brats, fish, kringle, beer, brandy, and cigarettes. And they burn all those calories off by bowling. But despite their beer and cheese diet, Wisconsin's only about average, fat-wise, in the United States. And since we're talking about cheese, we gotta talk about brats briefly. This is Sheboygan Falls, which is home to Johnsonville, which makes brats. They love their brats in Wisconsin. They have whole festivals here where they worship brats. You will too bow to the brat gods if you move here. Over here in central Wisconsin, it's pretty quiet. It's mostly farms and forest. There's 500,000 people in central Wisconsin, with Stevens Point being the biggest community here. South of that is Wisconsin Rapids, which is not a good place to raise a kid. Moving south is Wisconsin Dells. This is also a little tourist trap with more water parks per capita than any other place on Earth. At least that's what they claim.
So much to do, so much to see. Day and night, it's a place to be. Wisconsin Dells, the fun comes naturally.
But for the most part, central Wisconsin is mostly smaller towns with good neighborhoods, solid schools, well-behaved kids, and a lot of rednecks. But there's lots of rednecks everywhere in Wisconsin. You want to come lake fish with me or no? The western side of Wisconsin is, you guessed it, more forest, small towns, dairy farms, and agriculture. Sadly, many of the farms out this way have fallen under corporate control. La Crosse is here. It's a college town. UW La Crosse is where the state kids go that can't get into Madison. It's a great place, really safe, good schools. Now, the further south you go into western Wisconsin, the more farmland you'll see. In fact, a big part of southern Wisconsin is mostly farmland and small towns with good people and low crime. But this square here, from the Madison suburbs over to Milwaukee all the way down to the Illinois border, is much different than the west of Wisconsin. This is sort of the part of the state that rural, conservative Wisconsin doesn't like. It's here that Wisconsin's culture changes big time. This is the most crowded part of the state. About 40% of Wisconsin's entire population is in this region here. Generally, this part here is pretty good, and these parts here are all bad, at least when you measure crime and poverty. We'll start in Madison, the state capital. Yay! The metro area of Madison has about 650,000 people. Dane County is very, very, very liberal, and the region's dominated by the University of Wisconsin. It's a great place. In fact, it's been called the best place to raise a family many times. Lots of tech jobs and growth. The best parts are the areas on the north and west side. However, when you're popular, everybody wants to be a part of it. Pockets of the east and south are super rough. Apparently, there's a ton of Chicago people moving into Madison, and crime is shooting up as a result. Madison now ranks as one of the worst places in the state for crime, and that is just so sad. Folks here suspect it's Wisconsin's loose welfare laws, which are a big draw for poor Illinois people. After all, Wisconsin's welfare spending per capita is 22% higher than their neighbors to the south. This New York Times article confirms that. Chicago's poor fleeing to Wisconsin for safer streets and greater welfare benefits. Moving south, you come to Janesville. It's also challenged in many ways with poverty and drugs and crime, but that's nothing compared to Beloit. Beloit's a terrible place to live. They call it Detroit. It's economically depressed and trashed. Lots of gunshots and lots of drug use. In fact, much of Rock County should be avoided for families moving to the state, unless you're from Illinois. Fibs are welcome to move there any day. Then you have Waukesha, which is a super great place to live, like most parts in this corridor here. And then we come to the Milwaukee metro area. Now, up here on the northern end of the Milwaukee sprawl, it's awesome. Everything up here, places like Whitefish Bay, Fox Point, Bayside, River Hills, is posh. Brewers players have homes up here. The western fringes are also nice communities where folks have good jobs and neighborhoods are taken care of. In fact, the counties of Waukesha, Washington, and Ozaukee counties are the most Republican counties in the state. They're all very different than the center of Milwaukee. The southern metro area is trashy. Kenosha's sort of beat up and has a lot of crime and drug use. They just had a riot there and people got shot and killed. But they do have the Mars Cheese Castle where all the fibs come up and load up. Racine, though, is sadly a bad place to live with more of the crap you'd find in Chicago. I mean, this part of the state's halfway between Chicago and Milwaukee, so you get what you get. Part of the problem with places like Racine and Janesville and Beloit and other pockets that struggle is the loss of jobs. Blue-collar jobs like manufacturing have gone away, just like in the Rust Belt regions and other parts of the Midwest. And that's been the problem with Milwaukee, too. The MLK, Milwaukee, the mill. Milwaukee's population peaked in 1960, and now it's down about 16% since then. Looks like the population loss has stabilized, though. Milwaukee had lost a lot of factory jobs, and a lot of trash from Chicago moved in, but they're trying here. Milwaukee's been cleaning up the bad areas and cracking down on crime. And unlike other Midwest cities, which lost a lot of jobs, Milwaukee's working hard to diversify its economy. The population decline's actually leveled off, and there's a sense of optimism in the air here. Milwaukee's so good and so bad in so many ways. A lot of people might say that parts of Milwaukee are a dump. According to FBI data, it is number 6 in the country for dangerous big cities. There's large pockets of super bad and super poor, especially in areas in the near northwest side like Williamsburg Heights. Sadly, this pocket here is where most of the crime occurs and the reason Milwaukee gets such a bad rap. A lot of people around this state say they don't like Milwaukee's politics very much.
Milwaukee proper is not a very safe place. It's, from what I've heard, it's poorly run. It's corrupt. And lots of the, when it was booming, the industries that are there just are not there anymore. A lot of industries are leaving the city of Milwaukee, maybe going to a suburb, but again, it's not the safest place. It's not the best run place. The suburbs are very nice, though.
Milwaukee was the first and only city in America to elect a socialist mayor. Bet you didn't know that unless you live there. Of course, it's a big city, so there's a ton of fun stuff to do here, and there's good jobs and great people here who work hard and are really awesome. It's home to Harley Davidson, Laverne and Shirley, Happy Days, a big zoo, and tons of bowling alleys. There's actually some beaches around this area too. Bradford Beach is the most popular. Every year from July 1st to August 31st, you can frolic in the somewhat not freezing Lake Michigan. Wisconsinites are genuine, they're laid back, they're considerate, and they're hardworking. The state has a relatively low cost of living, it has close-knit families, and an ingrained culture that helps bond the folks up here. Move here and you'll too be encouraged to ingrain yourself in Wisconsin's culture. Scotties have true Midwest charm. They don't take themselves seriously, and they're open to new ideas too. For years, Wisconsin's been welcoming to all, but over time, that welcome mat has become a little worn out. And if you're thinking of moving here from Illinois, well, you can just stop that foolish thinking right there, mister. They don't need any more of you. Okay, so we did a pretty good job of putting Wisconsin in a neat little box, didn't we? Yeah, we learned a lot about the state, huh? We could have talked about a lot of other stuff too, like the Wisconsin accent, or supper clubs, or the weather here, or Summerfest. We didn't have time to talk about that. How do we not talk about Summerfest? But we have to go. The Bears and Packers game's about to start, and we got to get to my buddy's house before all the spotted cow and cheese curds are gone. Special thanks to Owen, Terry, and Chris Locken for their help in making this video. They're all super cool Scotties who I now consider my friends. Cheese and cows and bratwurst, funny accents, blizzards. Cheese and cows and bratwurst, funny accents, blizzards. Beer and brats and pretzels, Packers fans and dumb hats. Beer and brats and pretzels, Packers fans and dumb hats. Move to Wisconsin and you'll hate it. There's a lot of boring stuff, not a lot of fun. Move to Wisconsin and you'll hate it. There's a lot of boring stuff, not a lot of fun. Their quarterback has a funny mustache. There's a lot of Brewers fans too. People here wear tiny shorts, and they have a lot of pretty lakes, and it's cold. Everybody here ice fishes. If you want to come, then you better not forget your pole. Everybody here ice fishes. If you want to come, then you better not forget your pole. Everybody here ice fishes. If you want to come, then you better not forget your pole. Everybody here ice fishes. If you want to come, then you better not forget your pole. Bam! Bam! Wisconsin! Bam! Wisconsin! Bam! Hey guys, if you learned something new about America or what it's like to live in America, great! You should think about subscribing and turning on your notifications. You can also click one of these videos or playlists for more. You can also now buy my songs on iTunes and other formats. Click the link in the description. Thanks for watching. And remember, while we all might have different views, we should all be nice to each other and try to make the US a better place in a positive way.
This is Sage, Nick's manager. This has been a Corner House Entertainment production.